And Israel is stepping up its attacks on the north. Cheering can be heard in the background as Jabalia is bombed. Heavy artillery shelling has also destroyed many homes in the Jabalia refugee camp. Overnight, at least 10 Palestinians were killed in a strike on a home. Most of those killed were women and children. Since Israel's military operation began in Jabalia and the north, more than 2,000 Palestinians have been killed and 6,000 wounded. The Israeli army has not let up in its attacks on other parts of the Strip. At least 6 Palestinians have been killed in a drone attack on the Al-Maghazi refugee camp in central Gaza. The injured were taken to the nearby overwhelmed Al-Aqsa hospital. Earlier on Wednesday, Israel bombed Palestinians sheltering in tents in Al-Mawasi in southern Gaza.
He was sitting peacefully with a group of his friends. An Israeli missile took them by surprise. They were all killed, all 6 of them. I thank God for what comes our way. We pray for God's mercy, simply because the whole world has abandoned us. Not a single person has taken any action in our support. For 14 months, the whole world has been watching us being slaughtered and butchered on live TV screens. Our population is being exterminated by the Israelis.
Joining us now on Al Jazeera is Arwa Damon, who's the founder of the International Network for AIDS Relief and Assistance, INARA, which provides medical and mental health care to children affected by war. Arwa is joining us from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. It's good to have you again on Al Jazeera, Arwa. You've been assisting, I understand, people displaced from northern Gaza who've moved to the center with medical assistance and aid. Can you tell us first what they've been telling you about the situation in the north and what condition they're arriving in when they reach central Gaza?
It's a complete nightmare, which is something that is hard to comprehend, given that everything up until this point has still been a complete nightmare. But how does one adequately describe a situation where the bombing is relentless, where there has been no humanitarian assistance, specifically because we're talking about the northern part of Gaza for weeks right now, and there isn't sufficient medical care either. The medical evacuations that, do end up happening from hospitals that are up in the far north to central Gaza. I mean, even those hospitals that exist in central Gaza, and we're not talking about the south where I am right now, are partially functional. The ones here are partially functional too, and what does that actually mean? It means if you show up bleeding at the hospital, someone there is going to try to stop the bleed. But do any of those facilities actually have what is needed to ensure that the patient survives? The simple answer is no. And this is not a unique situation that has emerged right now. People are deeply, deeply traumatized. And part of the reluctance to leave the north is fear of the road. People are afraid to be targeted as they are leaving. There are families that are being separated, women and children from, men and teenage boys. We're hearing about, men, fathers, sons being detained as they're trying to make their way back down. This is why actually a lot of the families that are fleeing from the very north are choosing to stay in Gaza City itself, where right now there's sort of an upped effort to try to provide them with the needed shelter, blankets, mattresses, because obviously they have fled with nothing. But access to the north for humanitarian organizations like mine is extraordinarily difficult, because the vast majority of movement requests, which do go through the Israelis, are either denied or impeded. It's an impossible situation, but it has been from the get-go.
Right. And so most of the people who fled the north, as you say, end up in places like Gaza City. When they reach Gaza City, what sort of help are they receiving there? What are you able to provide them with?
Look, we right now, and broadly speaking about the humanitarian organizations, nowhere near enough, because the need is for shelter items. So tents, for example, there was an effort to try to bring tents in, but the Israelis requested that the sort of metal bars used to set the tent up be switched out for plastic ones. So that, again, creates yet another obstacle. There's a huge need for hygiene kits. Now, some have managed to actually get into the north, but it's nowhere near enough. There's a huge need for things like, clothing and blankets and shelter. It gets bitterly cold here right now at night. You need access to clean water. You need access to food. All of this needs to get reset up to be able to accommodate the tens of thousands of people who have been forcibly displaced to Gaza City itself. And that is a scenario against a backdrop, which is the reality here, and that is that no one has what they need.
Right.
Not a single person. Look, the U.S. deadline, the deadline that the U.S. had given Israel was meant to see, 350 trucks entering Gaza a day. We're seeing right now, on a good day, maybe 60 or 70 actually getting in.
Right, and we heard the Americans say this week, Arwa, that Israel had made some progress towards getting more aid into the Gaza Strip, but that is not the case, it seems.
No. And I mean, right now, there's a severe flour shortage. When we were on our way here, there was a group of people that were demonstrating in front of one of the other INGO buildings because they wanted flour, because the bakeries aren't able to produce sufficiently to actually provide for the entire population. As I was standing here waiting for this broadcast, a group of mothers came up. They're begging for flour. They're also asking for, diapers and milk, but at the top of the list is actually flour. I mean, the standard, it seems, by which the United States is willing to allow Israel the room that it needs to be able to claim improvement is one that is rather farcical. If we purely look at the numbers, in October, for example, there were 30 to 40 trucks coming in. Right now, November, there's 60 to 70. Is that a slight improvement? Yes. But at the same time, it's a very misleading statistic to be going by, because it's nowhere near what we know is needed here, and that is at least 350 trucks a day. Add to all of that, you also have a severe cutting back on commercial trade. So in the past, at times, organizations like mine, we were able to backfill things by purchasing locally. And yes, prices were absolutely ridiculous, but at least that was an option that existed. That's not an option anymore. And let me just give you this example. I've been here 4 times. This is the first time, as I was coming in, that my team was telling me, Arwa, there's nothing available on the market, even if you can afford it, so make sure you bring in your own food. It's not an issue of money, it's an issue of availability. And so everything is being suffocated from every single aspect. Everything that is needed to sustain life is being eliminated and eradicated.
A very desperate situation, no doubt, and we can't stress that enough. Thank you so much, Arwa, for speaking to us about the situation in the Gaza Strip. Arwa Damon from INARA joining us there from Deir al-Balah. Thank you very much for your time.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.